and your whole life changes. You pivot and you start studying motor vehicle code and getting into this license.
I wanted to verify what I heard. I wanted to have enough information in my hands to be able to show anybody who has been brainwashed into believing that everybody has to have a driver license.
Right.
And that's not true. It's just not true.
Now, I get a lot of comments on my YouTube channel telling me that I just need to obey the law when it comes to a driver's license. And that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the driver's license. And what have you come to understand about is it a commercial driver's license? Is there a non-commercial driver's license?
No, there's not.
At all?
No, there is no thing that says NON-commercial anywhere in the vehicle code. That term is coined by the agency called DMV, and they use it in their little manual that they hand out, but they don't use it. And there's a difference between the manual, which is something that they publish, and the Oregon Vehicle Code, which is something ODOT, which is the parent corporation or the parent department. It's the Department of Transportation, right? Oregon Department of Transportation, ODOT. They're the big dog, and then DMV is a division of, and it's Driver and Motor Vehicle Services. There is a very definitive, and oh wow, back in 1959, the legislature enacted a law called the Traffic Court Rules Committee. They created this entity that was an agency of the Supreme Court, right? And we have a separation of powers doctrine in our culture. And in the Oregon Constitution, that doctrine is in Article 3. And it prevents one branch of government, the executive, the legislative, and the judicial, from being a part of another one at the same time. So this agency of the Supreme Court should have been attorneys and judges, right? But the legislature, and it wasn't the legislature, because and this is why I met Tom, because the legislature generally they're not really competent when they first arrive there, most of them, and attorneys, they theoretically do know what's going on. So that's why I picked Tom. I said, I need to talk to somebody who knows something more about the law than a legislator who may have been there 1 year. He might have been there one session or one term.
Because the legislator is elected, like they're elected.
Yeah.
But
and
the attorneys...
Reps are elected for 2 years and senators for 4, right?
But the attorneys are there for a long time.
Yeah. Tom was there through the 70s, the 80s, and the first couple years of the 90s.
I mean, even on
And Dexter's been there a long time, too.
Not just on, state level, but even county level.
Oh, yeah.
You've got Board of Commissioners and stuff, but and they might, circle through or rotate through different Board of Commissioners, but the county attorney has been there for a long time, and the Board of Commissioners usually don't do anything unless they
until
talk
they
to the attorney first
Mhm.
before they do anything.
Mhm.
So it's like, who's really running the show here? It's the attorneys.
Yeah, and
It's,
that's why I picked Tom to help me with family court.
Tom taught you a lot, and you were with Tom for a long time, and then you go to this hearing, and your whole life changes. You pivot, and you start studying motor vehicle code and getting into this
I
license.
wanted to verify what I heard. I wanted to have enough information in my hands to be able to show anybody who has been brainwashed into believing that everybody has to have a driver license,
right.
And that's not true. It's just not true.
How did you do that? How'd you start?
Well, I started reading the statutes, and that's what Tom wanted me to do, and I never did it. And so I started reading the statutes. Oh, and I met this guy. I didn't meet him in person, but he was part of the Minor Court Rules Committee. He was the Attorney General's spokesperson for the Minor Court Rules Committee. His name was Jack Solis. He was the Attorney General's office has several divisions, and his division was General Counsel, which means people like him represent different agencies. They represent them in court actions or agency actions, actually. So Jack Solis in 1985, he said, I want to see a law that makes driver license mean the same thing as license, which was pretty radical because we had already been, as a society, we had already adopted the notion that driver licenses are something that everybody has to have. This is 1985. So they passed this law. It's now in Chapter 801, which is the definition chapter for the Oregon Vehicle Code, Chapter 801.245, right? And it's his amendment to that, and it was originally printed in 1983, the first year of the most recent revision of the Vehicle Code. So the next year he got this amendment, and his sentence starts with, driver license is a term which may be used interchangeably with license. Wow, that is utterly clear, explicit. And so you turn through the book to the Administrative Procedures Act, which is in the same book, the same Oregon Vehicle Code. Under related laws, there's a page that separates the Vehicle Code actually from these other sections, Traffic Court Procedure generally, and the Administrative Procedures Act. But it's under related laws. And what is the definition of license? License means, and this, let me give you the number for that one too. It's 183.310 subsection 5. And that definition says, among other similarly situated words, means permission required by law to pursue any commercial activity, trade, occupation, or profession. That's really the end of the story. That's, but there's so many other things. There's just a lot of things that people have been brainwashed to believe that are not there. And one of them is highway defined. And I can give you should I give you the whole?
Do it.
The whole
I
definition?
like it.
Okay. The whole definition, verbatim, is highway means every public way, road, street, thoroughfare, and place, including bridges, viaducts, and other structures within the boundaries of the state, open, used, or intended for use by the general public for vehicles or vehicular traffic. That means traffic, well, that's another word we'll talk about, as a matter of right. So what is traffic? Traffic means the movement of merchandise. You know, we all have heard about the DA prosecuting people for trafficking in drugs, right? But we don't associate the DA's use of that word for, you know, prosecuting a drug trafficker with what we hear cops tell us on the street. This is a traffic stop. I'm stopping you for blah blah blah. No, I'm not a trafficker. I'm not selling anything. I'm not moving merchandise. But they will tell you we're doing a traffic stop on you. Oh, and that's another thing. Can I just
you go for it.
Prior to, they're in numerical order. Prior to 183 is chapter 153, which is traffic court procedure. And traffic court procedure at 153.039 says an officer may stop any employee. Well, he talks, first of all, they can stop any person. And then redundantly, they start over, and they say an officer may stop any employee, agent, or representative of a firm, corporation, or other organization if the officer has reasonable grounds to believe that the firm, corporation, or other organization has committed a violation. And that's about as explicit as you can get, too. I mean, these words, and that was written by people in the bar. The Legislative Council solicited the bar's help in writing that one. That's a 1999 law, and they didn't want to screw with the credibility of the legislators, so they had the bar do it. But it's very explicit, and it makes it clear. There's another one, a couple more pages over, talks about 153.083 says role of the peace officer, meaning role of the peace officer in traffic court. It includes, number one, the first subsection, number one, is to argue the application of the statutes and rules to the facts of the case. Holy cow. They have to know all of these words that nobody else knows. They're supposed to know it. So they don't have any excuse. They can't say we're ignorant, because they all go to, police training academy